Y'all need to find some place for these people to park their junk other than our sidewalks. Damn! Water meter cover's broken. 76. Moreland. Euclid. Down here, little 5 Points. They just leave this junk wherever they want to. When are y'all gonna get them to get this junk out of the way? Blocking up the damn burned sidewalk here.
To a foot race after 2 kids spotted a designer bag and snatched it from a lunch table. I bet you can guess who won that foot chase. Not the 2 sisters who were trying to enjoy lunch, but those kids. And now the victim has a message for other ladies when they're out in public. Ladies, where do you put your purse when your mind is on something else, like having a meal out? 2 sisters were at the Lenox Square Mall Thursday. They had just sat down to eat. One of them put her purse on the seat of a chair right next to her. 2 teens quickly moved toward their table.
Before I realized it, 2 boys came up, snatched the purse, and ran out. Bright daylight, people walking in and out. There's police outside. There's more security outside. I would have never in a million thought that, this was a place to be mugged.
The sisters found out from another mall patron that the young people had been lingering. It was the victim's high-fashion purse they zeroed in on and took the gamble to steal. What are you going to do differently now if you're out at a restaurant or you take something there to go eat? What are you going to try to do differently?
I'm gonna keep the purse on my hand, on my shoulder.
Yet, women may be a little more exposed than past years when people eat out. Many are choosing to try patio dining, possibly due to COVID.
I usually put it in my lap or I put it in between my feet, and I make sure that, like, sitting on my feet to make sure that it's there.
Usually when I go out to eat, I'll leave the purse on the table, but like facing me so I know where it is, or on the side if someone's sitting next to me.
And Atlanta police do have some mall surveillance footage to take a look at. From Zone 2 in Buckhead, I'm Morse Diggs, Fox 5 News.
Downpours across our region, but storms have been below severe limits. Not the case next door in Alabama, where the nasties are taking place. In just a minute.
County's apartment complexes. In fact, in one of the videos provided to Fox 5, it's a call about regular shooting heard inside an apartment complex there. On the night that this video was shot, they arrested 2 men and seized a couple of guns. In fact, there was a tense moment when one of the men arrested reached to his waistband. There he had a gun, and he was forcefully ordered not to do that, to put his hands back up. Some of the highlights from Operation Blue Shield: 73 felony arrests, 532 traffic stops. They recovered 19 stolen guns as well as 2 stolen cars.
the Coweta County residents expect a certain level of law enforcement, and we're going to give them that. And the sheriff wants to reassure them that they're going to get the level that they expect. And we're lucky we got a great community, and they support us. And, you know, they wanted this operation to happen because they're the ones that really started it. It wasn't us just looking at numbers and going, hey, we got a problem. It was a combination of all.
Deputies say they also filed drug charges against a former police officer during a traffic stop. They say the man was still certified to be an officer, but they are working to get that certification revoked because of his arrests.
He has not been one in many years, but his certification was still good. He was on probation with our Georgia Post, but he could still be a police officer somewhere. So we were able to file the paperwork on that and get his certification hopefully revoked.
Deputies saying they
seen very few police cars, either now or when they were gathered near the CNN Center, but police do say if this does not continue to be a very peaceful protest, if for some reason things get out of hand, police will be ready. We are going to be here throughout the evening, and we will be bringing you the very latest throughout the night. Reporting live, Denise Dillon, Fox 5 News.
Of the military, because there is a track record of growth, in that regard.
Republicans, in my opinion, actually talked about issues.
Jake is the head of the Georgia chapter of the Republican National Lawyers Association.
I think the Democrats focus much more on just painting Trump as a bad guy, talking about how bad Trump is, but they didn't really speak policy.
Which of the two presidential candidates was helped more by their party's convention over the last 2 weeks?
I think that Biden definitely was helped simply because he was able to show himself as someone with passion.
Marty is the vice chair of Black Man Lab, an organization that mentors young black men in metro Atlanta. He says he doesn't buy the RNC's portrayal of Trump as the leader best suited to unify a divided country.
It's almost ludicrous to say that, his world is going to be so much different than what it is right now. It's going to be worse. I think it'll be worse. Right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We have unprecedented protests going on because of police violence, because of just inequities in the United States right now.
I was just terrified from the Republican National Convention as a black woman.
A defense attorney and DeKalb Democrat, Eklund Mercy, says she was turned off by the RNC's depictions of Biden's America as one of socialism and lawlessness.
I don't live in Biden's hypothetical America. I live in Trump's America. People are getting shot in the back 7 times. Actual things, real things that are happening right now that affect me.
The choice is going to come down, in my opinion, to whether you want a nice guy who hasn't really done much, or you want a guy that's rough around the edges, that's results oriented. And I think that's really the question at the end of the day, and America will make that decision in November.
With your take, I'm Portia Bruner.
But they also reached out to those people in the middle, that small number of voters who will be decisive. I think that law and order message that we heard all week really is resonating as fires were burning on the evening news every night leading into the convention speeches. There were powerful, emotional testimonies, and I thought it was really interesting the appeals to white women and to black men throughout the entire week were all very effective. And with the white women, they're trying to bring them back. They used to be Republicans, and we've lost them. And for black men, Republicans see them as fertile ground, as people who may be open to voting for a Republican, when black women are much less likely to break toward the other party.
Yeah, Thurman, we did hear from quite a few African Americans this week. Herschel Walker, of course, prominent among them. They say Democrats have taken them for granted for too long. What say you?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Herschel Walker, but I got to tell you, Russ, I was disappointed to see him speak out and support President Trump. Now, in the Democratic Party, we've always known that Herschel Walker is either a Republican or he definitely associates himself with Republicans. But unlike Vernon Jones, who was a disgraceful Democrat, at least Herschel Walker was able to talk about his relationship with Donald Trump. So ultimately, I think this was a failed attempt by the Republicans, particularly President Trump, to put up validators on the stage to try to make us believe that he's different than we already have seen these last 3.5 years. At the end of the day, African Americans are smarter than Donald Trump think that we are. We're going to look at the issues. We're going to, more importantly, look at people who stand with us consistently. And we're going to look at hiring. We're going to look at things like what happened in Wisconsin and how you respond to them. So ultimately, I think we'll win the black vote and we'll win it big.
You know, on the subject of
Doubt that.
believability, Brian, more than a few Republicans, including the
Democrats, makes the entire thing totally worth it for Georgia Republicans. It's fun to watch. The moderate Joe Biden of the past no longer exists because it can't exist. You cannot win a Democratic nomination as a moderate today. And you're going to have to see Biden move toward the left in these debates. Otherwise, he's going to demobilize his base, run the same risk that Hillary Clinton took. They can't just make a play toward the middle, which the Republicans did a real balancing act of this week. The base of the Democratic Party is moved very far left. They're not the centrist that my friend Theron is anymore. So he's going to have to talk about Medicare for all. He's going to have to make appeals for open borders, for example, something that's going to offend the middle.
All right. Well, the president spoke last night to a crowd on the South Lawn. No social distancing, very few face coverings. Joe Biden still basically in the basement. Well, where's the advantage there, Theron?
Well, you know, in the famous word of my good friend Charles Barkley, it was terrible, Russ. It was terrible that we saw all of these Republicans, by the way, violating the federal rules that you cannot use the White House for a political event. But they were there together, no social distancing, and they were not wearing masks. I mean, he is putting additional lives at risk. And Brian knows this. There's a lot of people that believe that at these Trump rallies, people contracted the coronavirus, and ultimately, some of them have passed away. But this whole thing about Uncle Joe being in the basement is just BS. At the end of the day, he's going to campaign. We're campaigning virtually. We're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we're safe. And then the last thing is this. I just believe that Donald Trump showed us who he really is. That is a person that is living in this Trump America that he has created and that he's doing nothing to try to get us out of. He's not trying to bring anyone together to move us forward as Americans.
Theron Johnson, Brian Robinson.
I was watching the news earlier, and they were talking about, what else? Politics. And one person asked the other person, why has Joe Biden not said anything about the violence in the country? Denounced it. I can tell you why. He does not want to anger that portion of the population that he's hoping to get votes from.